The hall of Starhaven Station was never quiet. Ships came and went. Alien traders shouted prices. Robots rolled by with glowing eyes, carrying boxes of parts, food, and strange tools. But that day, everything stopped because of one voice, a loud, angry, echoing voice that made even the biggest alien guards freeze. "Human! Why do you have a mini Shai-Hulud between your legs?" The words bounced across the metal walls like thunder. Dozens of alien heads turned. Some creatures had long necks, others had 2 or 3 eyes, and a few even had feathers instead of hair. But right now, every one of them was staring at one thing. A single human man standing at the center of the hall, looking completely confused. Voice belonged to his landlady, a tall alien woman with glowing blue skin and silver hair that floated around her like smoke. She had stormed out of his rented room on the upper floor, face red, eyes wide, hands shaking. Her name was Lyra, and she was known across the station for 2 things: her temper, and the fact that she was never, ever afraid of anything, until today. Because today, she looked like she had seen a ghost. The human, whose name was Daniel, rubbed the back of his neck awkwardly. He was wearing his usual black jacket and dusty boots from Earth. Nothing special, no weapons, no strange gear. Just a simple traveler renting a room in this massive alien station. But now everyone stared at him like he was hiding the galaxy's deadliest secret. Lyra pointed at him, her silver hair crackling with static. "You! Explain this at once. That thing, between your legs, it moved. I saw it." Gasps filled the hall. A small group of insect-like aliens huddled together, whispering in their clicking language. A reptilian guard with green scales gripped his spear tighter, ready for trouble. Even the bartender from the nearby cafe peeked out the door. Wide-eyed. Daniel raised his hand slowly, as if to calm everyone down. "It's not dangerous," he said in a steady voice. "Calm down." "Not dangerous?" Lyra shouted. Her voice shook this time, like she wasn't sure whether to be angry or scared. "It had eyes. I swear it had eyes. Is it alive? Is it a weapon? Is it some kind of Earth parasite?" Daniel didn't answer, and that was the problem. The silence made things worse. The aliens stared at him, then at each other, fear spreading like fire. A Shai-Hulud was the name of a giant sandworm from an old Earth story, so big it could swallow ships whole. Every alien here knew the story, because humans loved telling it in bars and on long space trips. But a mini one? A living one? Here, on the station? Someone whispered, "Maybe it's small now, but what if it grows?" Another voice hissed, "What if it can control minds?" A tiny alien child with fur all over its body pointed at Daniel and said loudly, "Is it going to eat us?" Daniel sighed. He could see panic building like a storm. The problem was, humans were still new to the galaxy. Only 50 years ago had Earth joined the interstellar community. To most aliens, humans were strange. Unpredictable creatures, tough, emotional, always smiling even in danger. And now this. Lyra turned to the growing crowd. "I demand the station guards check his room," she said. "If he's hiding a monster, we all have a right to know." The guards hesitated. Nobody wanted to fight a human. It wasn't that humans were stronger than all other species. But there were rumors. Stories of how humans had survived wars, plagues, and even planets with deadly wildlife. Some said humans were impossible to kill. Others whispered that humans had weapons no one had ever seen. And now one might be hiding a living creature in his own body. Daniel finally spoke, his voice calm but firm. "There is no danger. It's private." That single word private made the aliens go crazy. "Private?" Lyra shouted again. "The whole station is at risk, and you say private?" A group of fish-like aliens from the corner shouted in their bubbling voices, "He must show us, for science." Others began chanting, "Show it! Show it!" Daniel looked around. This was getting out of control fast. He could see more aliens gathering near the hall entrance. The news was spreading already. Soon the whole station would know. He leaned closer to Lyra and said in a low voice only she could hear, "Trust me, it's nothing dangerous. But if I explain now, you'll regret asking in front of everyone." Her eyes narrowed. She didn't like mysteries. She liked control. And right now, she had none. Before she could answer, a loud alarm suddenly rang through the hall. Doom! Doom! An emergency alert. A robotic voice echoed. Council notice. Unregistered biological entity detected. All residents, stay calm. Security on the way. All eyes turned back to Daniel. He just sighed and muttered, "Great, now the council's involved." The crowd gasped. Lyra stared at him, realizing this was no longer just between landlord and tenant. This was about to become a station-wide scandal. By the next morning, Starhaven Station was no longer the same. Every hallway, every marketplace, every crowded cafe buzzed with one topic, the human and his mini. Shai-Hulud. The story spread faster than the food delivery drones. Nobody really knew what had happened, but that didn't stop aliens from telling it with extra drama. In the cafeteria, a group of frog-like aliens with long arms whispered loudly, "I heard it has teeth made of steel." No, another. One said, "My cousin swears it glowed in the dark." At the docking bay, two lizard-faced traders unloading cargo argued, "They say it can spit acid." "Acid? Huh. I heard it sings when the moon rises." By lunchtime, the story had changed. So much that one alien swore the human was secretly a shapeshifter from a forbidden planet. Another claimed the many Shai-Hulud was a baby star-eater, a creature from old legends that swallowed suns whole. The truth didn't matter anymore. Fear was good business for rumors. Meanwhile, Daniel, the human at the center of this storm, calmly sat at a small table outside his rented room, drinking his morning coffee like nothing was wrong. His landlady, Lyra, stood across from him with arms crossed, silver hair floating slightly like it always did when she was angry. She looked around. Even the cleaning robots had stopped sweeping the floor just to stare at the human. "You've made the whole station crazy," she hissed in a low voice. "Half the council met last night. They're demanding answers. Do you understand what you've done?" Daniel sipped his coffee and shrugged. "I didn't do anything. You screamed." Lyra's blue cheeks darkened. She wanted to argue, but technically he was right. The day before, she had barged into his room because he was late on rent. Then she saw it, moving, alive, between his legs. And she screamed before thinking. Now the entire station wanted to know the truth. Across the hall, two bird-headed aliens carrying messenger tablets stopped to listen. One whispered, "That's him, right? The human with the monster?" The other nodded. "I heard the council might call for evacuation if he doesn't cooperate." Their voices weren't quiet enough. Lyra heard them and slammed her hand on the table. The birds jumped and hurried away. "See?" she said, glaring at Daniel. "This is out of control. If you don't explain, the council will force you. They might even ban all humans from the station." Daniel didn't look worried. He took another slow sip, eyes calm as if he had seen worse before. Finally he said, "Let them talk. The more they guess, the funnier this gets." Lyra blinked. "Funny? This could start a panic," Daniel smirked. "Panic over what? Something they don't understand? That's not my problem." She stared at him, trying to decide if he was the bravest human she'd met, or the most foolish. Elsewhere, in the council chambers on the upper level, a heated debate raged. "We must detain the human," one alien counselor shouted, his voice buzzing through his insect mandibles. "Unknown biological life forms cannot be allowed here." Another counselor, a tall creature with crystal skin, raised a hand. "Let us not forget, humans are allies. If we humiliate one without proof, Earth might withdraw trade agreements." A third, a short reptilian with bright yellow eyes, hissed, "What if it's dangerous? What if it spreads? The safety of the station comes first." The council leader, an old alien with tentacles for a beard, finally spoke in a slow, deep voice. "Bring the human here. If he refuses to answer, we will test this creature ourselves." The guards bowed and left to carry out the order. Back near the marketplace, rumors grew wilder by the hour. Someone claimed they saw Daniel secretly feeding his many Shai-Hulud glowing crystals. Another swore it escaped at night and roamed the ventilation system. Children started playing games, pretending to be the brave human carrying the secret monster. The more Daniel refused to talk, the more interesting the story became. Lyra returned to his table, frustrated. "You're enjoying this, aren't you?" she asked. Daniel finally looked up from his coffee. His eyes were calm but sharp. "Enjoying?" he said softly. "No. Waiting? Yes. Waiting for what?" He leaned back in his chair, a small smile on his lips. "For them to ask the right question," Lyra frowned. "Which is?" Daniel didn't answer. By evening, a group of alien scientists arrived with scanners and equipment. They set up near the marketplace like hunters waiting for prey. "We only want to study it," one of them said, adjusting his translator collar. "For science, for peace." But when they approached Daniel, he stood, stretched, and said only one thing: "No." And then he walked away calmly, leaving the scientists and half the station staring after him. The mystery only deepened. By nightfall, the council guards were already on their way to arrest him, and Daniel still looked like he was the only one who knew how this story would end. The next morning, Starhaven Station didn't wake up. It exploded with noise. Not from weapons, not from alarms, but from the arrival of the alien science corps. They came in a silver hovercraft covered in blinking lights and long sensor arms. Everyone knew them. The smartest minds in 5-star systems, famous for studying everything from black hole dust to alien eggs found on dead moons. And now, they were here for the human. Inside the marketplace, aliens stopped what they were doing. As the scientists marched in, they wore shiny white suits with big helmets shaped like bubbles. Long mechanical arms extended from their backpacks, ending in glowing instruments that could scan almost anything. Behind them floated drones, each carrying strange machines that hummed and clicked, ready to record every sound, every movement. Their leader was a tall, thin alien with 4 eyes stacked in 2 rows. His name was Dr. Core, and he carried a scanner shaped like a fork with spinning blue lights. He looked very serious. "Where is the human?" he asked in a cold voice. The crowd parted like someone had thrown water on fire. Daniel, the human at the center of it all, was leaning against a metal wall, arms crossed, looking very calm and as if a team of galaxy-famous scientists coming to investigate him was just another boring day. Dr. Core walked up to him. "Human, we request permission to examine the life form you carry. For science, for safety." Daniel tilted his head. "Request denied." Gasps filled the air. Nobody ever refused the science corps. They had authority from the Galactic Council itself. They could even board warships without permission if they suspected biological danger. Dr. Core blinked his 4 eyes slowly. "Perhaps you do not understand. This is not a choice. If your creature poses any risk, we must study it." Daniel gave him a calm smile. "Then you should first ask if it poses a risk at all." The scientist froze. The crowd leaned closer. "Does it?" Dr. Core asked. Daniel shrugged. "That's for me to know." The marketplace erupted in whispers. The scientists began setting up scanners around him anyway. Long blue beams of light swept over Daniel's body. One machine beeped. Another hissed. A third made a strange clicking sound before spitting out a hologram, full of glowing lines. The results confused everyone. One of the scientists whispered, "I see 2 heartbeats." Another one frowned. "No. This signal is strange. It's moving on its own, a third scientist gasped. It's alive. The crowd backed away nervously, but Daniel didn't move. His face was unreadable, like a man who knew something they didn't, and that scared the aliens more than anything. Finally, Dr. Quor turned off his scanner and looked at him sharply. Human, if you do not cooperate, we will involve the council. Directly, this could lead to your arrest. Daniel looked around at the watching aliens, at the fear in their eyes, at the rumors spreading like fire. He sighed softly. You people are funny, he said. Always afraid of things you don't understand. The words hit the aliens like a challenge. Suddenly, one of the younger scientists, a small alien with antennae, stepped forward. Maybe it's not dangerous at all. Maybe it's something humans carry naturally. A part of them? The others stared at him like he'd just suggested hugging a black hole. Impossible, Dr. Quor snapped. No species carries something alive inside them, like this. Daniel smirked. Maybe humans are different. That single sentence made the whole station go silent for a second. More drones arrived, projecting the scene across the station's holoscreens. Now everyone could see the humans surrounded by scientists, guards, and a growing crowd of aliens holding their breath. And then, as if things weren't tense enough, the station's council guards arrived, tall, armored, carrying plasma rifles. The leader stepped forward. By order of the council, the human must come with us, now. The scientist stepped back. The crowd gasped. Daniel just stood there calmly, hands in his pockets, like he had expected this from the beginning. As they prepared to take him, a voice shouted from the crowd. What if it escapes? Another alien screamed. What if it reproduces? The panic was spreading fast. Daniel looked at all of them and finally spoke, his voice calm but carrying across the entire marketplace. You want to know what it is? He said softly. The crowd leaned closer. Then ask yourselves this. He paused. Why are you so afraid of something so small? His words hung in the air like a riddle. The guards didn't wait for an answer. They took him to the council chambers. And the whole station followed, hearts pounding, desperate to finally learn the secret of the mini Shai-Hulud. The council chambers of Starhaven Station were carved from black stone brought from a dead moon. The walls glowed faint blue, lit by energy crystals humming softly like distant thunder. This was where the highest laws of the station were spoken. This was where war and peace had both been decided. And today, the council had only one name on its agenda, the human. Daniel walked inside calmly, hands in his pockets as if this was just another meeting. But behind him, the guards moved like shadows with rifles ready. The alien scientists followed too, carrying scanners and blinking screens filled with strange readings they didn't understand. The counselors sat in a half-circle of tall chairs, each one representing a different species. Some had feathers, some had scales, some had glowing eyes like lanterns in the dark. Above them floated the massive council leader, a creature of long tentacles and a single golden eye. Watching everything like a god, the room fell silent as Daniel stood before them. Human, the council leader spoke, his voice deep and slow like heavy drums. Do you know why you are here? Daniel looked around at the glowing walls, the angry faces, the watching guards. Then he gave a small shrug. Because everyone's scared of something they don't understand. A ripple of murmurs ran through the chamber. Some counselors shifted nervously in their seats. Others narrowed their eyes. The leader's golden eye burned brighter. You carry an unknown life form inside your body. Our sensors confirm it. You refuse to explain it. You refuse to let scientists examine it. And now the entire station is afraid. This is not acceptable. Daniel stayed silent, his face calm. Leader leaned forward, massive tentacles curling slowly. You will explain what this mini Shai-Hulud is, or we will remove it by force. The threat rolled through the air like lightning. One of the insect-like counselors clicked his mandibles. Perhaps it is a weapon, he said sharply. Perhaps Earth hides secret creatures inside them to attack other species. Another counselor, with crystal skin that sparkled like stars, spoke softly. Or perhaps it is a parasite. Maybe it spreads from human to human. A third, covered in fur and wearing a heavy robe, growled, "Whatever it is, it has no place here unless we know the truth." The guards gripped their weapons tighter. The scientists whispered among themselves, eyes on their scanners. But Daniel simply smiled faintly. Finally, he spoke. "You all want to know what it is," he said slowly, his voice calm but echoing across the chamber. "But the real question isn't what it is. The real question is, why are you so afraid of it?" His words landed like stones in water. The crystal-skinned counselor frowned. "Because it moves. Because it lives. Because it should not be there." Daniel tilted his head. "Says who? Your science? Your laws or your fear?" The room went silent. Again, the leader's golden eye narrowed. "This is your final warning, human. If you do not tell us, we will order surgery to remove it, by force if needed." Gasps ran through the room. Even the guards shifted uneasily. No one liked the idea of cutting open a human, not after hearing stories about Earth's strange biology. Daniel's faint smile faded for the first time. He stepped forward slowly, his boots echoing on the stone floor. "You try that," he said softly, "and you will start something you can't control." The guards stiffened. The counselors froze. It wasn't a shout. It wasn't a threat yelled. In anger, it was calm. Deadly calm, like a warning from someone who knew exactly what would happen. One of the younger counselors, with thin blue feathers, leaned forward nervously. "Human, are you saying it's dangerous?" Daniel looked straight at him. "I'm saying it's not what you think." Another counselor hissed. "Then what is it?" Daniel didn't answer. He simply folded his arms and said, "You wanted humans in your galaxy. You wanted trade. You wanted allies. But you never bothered to learn what we really are." His words made the whole chamber fall into heavy silence. Even the leader with the golden eye paused before speaking again. "You have one cycle," the leader said finally. "One cycle to tell us the truth, or we will act." The guards stepped closer, signaling the meeting was over. Daniel turned to leave, but before he stepped out of the chamber, he looked back at the counselors and said softly, "Your warning. The wrong species." Then he walked out, leaving the entire council staring after him in uneasy silence. Outside, the station buzzed with rumors again. But this time, the fear was different, because now, everyone wondered if the human was warning them about the creature, or about himself. Night came slowly to Starhaven Station. Outside the wide glass windows, stars burned like cold fire across the endless dark. The station lights dimmed to soft blue. The usual noise of the markets faded, and most residents locked their doors. But the fear of the mini Shai-Hulud didn't sleep. It spread like smoke through every corner. The council had given the human one cycle, one day, to explain himself. By tomorrow, they would force the truth out of him. But tonight, someone else had questions. Lyra, the alien landlady, walked down the narrow metal hallway toward Daniel's rented room. Her silver hair floated behind her like a ribbon of light. Her glowing blue skin shimmered faintly in the dark. She was known across the station for her temper and sharp tongue, but right now, her face held only one thing: curiosity. She had been the first to see it, the first to scream, the first to start this storm. And now she couldn't stop thinking about it. Daniel's door slid open with a quiet hiss before she could knock. He was inside, sitting at a small metal table, eating something from a steaming bowl. His black jacket hung over the chair, and the light above him flickered softly. "You're not afraid to leave the door open?" Lyra asked, stepping inside. Daniel glanced up. "Should I be?" She hesitated before closing the door behind her. The room was small, rented for cheap, with only a bed, a table, and a window looking out at the stars. "You know, the whole station is talking about you," she said finally. He nodded calmly. "Let them talk." Lyra crossed her arms, leaning against the wall. "You enjoy this chaos, don't you?" Daniel looked at her for a long moment. "No, but I'm used to it." "Used to it?" she repeated, confused. He gave a faint smile. "Humans scare easily too. But in our history, when something scares us, we learn about it. We face it. Your council. They threaten it instead." His words made her shift uncomfortably. "Maybe they're right to. Maybe it is dangerous." Daniel didn't answer right away. He finished his food slowly, then set the bowl aside. Finally, he looked at her with calm, steady eyes. "You saw it. Did it look dangerous to you?" Lyra opened her mouth to speak, then stopped. She remembered the moment she had walked into his room, angry about rent. She remembered seeing movement. Something alive. Small, strange. She had panicked before even thinking. Now in the quiet of his room, she realized she wasn't sure what she had seen. Daniel leaned back in his chair. "Curiosity is fine," he said softly. "Fear is not," Lyra frowned. "Then tell me what it is, not for the council, not for the station, for me." For a moment, Daniel said nothing. The hum of the station's engines filled the silence. Then he asked, "Why do you want to know?" "Because..." She hesitated, choosing her words. "Because you humans walk around like you have secrets the rest of us don't understand. You smile when others would cry. You laugh when others would run. And now this thing. I want to know what makes you so calm when the whole station is ready to throw you out an airlock." Daniel looked at her carefully. "You want to understand? Humans?" She nodded slowly. He leaned forward, resting his arms on the table. His voice dropped low. "Then listen carefully. What you saw isn't a weapon. It's not a parasite. It's not something dangerous. It's something we carry because of what we are. Because of how we live. Because of what we can give." Lyra blinked, confused. "What you can give?" Daniel didn't answer directly. Instead, he stood, walked to the window, and looked out at the stars. "You aliens think strength comes from claws, from teeth, from armies," he said softly. "But humans, we have a different kind of strength. Something no scanner can measure." Lyra stepped closer, her voice quiet. "And this mini Shai-Hulud is part of that?" Daniel turned and looked at her. His eyes held something strange, something old, something deep. "Yes," he said simply. Before she could ask more, the station intercom crackled loudly. "Attention! All residents remain indoors. Council guards will secure Sector 4 at dawn." That was Daniel's sector. Lyra looked at him sharply. "They're coming for you." Daniel didn't seem surprised. "They can come," he said calmly. "But they won't like what they find." His voice was soft, not angry. Not scared. Just certain. And that certainty made Lyra shiver. Dawn came to Starhaven Station like a slow heartbeat. The artificial lights brightened. The markets prepared to open. But everyone knew today wasn't normal. Because today, the council guards were coming for the human. Word spread through every hallway, every docking bay, every crowded cafe. Aliens closed shops early. Children climbed onto cargo boxes to watch, and news drones hovered overhead, ready to send the story across the galaxy. The whole station waited to see the human dragged before the council. But Daniel wasn't hiding. He was sitting in the middle of the marketplace, calm as a stone in a storm. The guards arrived first, tall, armored, carrying plasma rifles. Behind them came the alien scientists, their scanners blinking nervously. And finally, the council itself arrived in a hover platform, the leader's golden eye glowing like a small sun. "Human." The leader's voice rolled across the marketplace, deep and heavy. "This is your last chance. Reveal the truth, or we will take it by force." The crowd went silent. Daniel stood slowly, dusted off his black jacket, and looked at them all: guards, scientists, counselors, and the sea of watching aliens. "Fine," he said at last. "You want the truth? Here it is." He stepped forward, his boots echoing on the metal floor. "This mini Shai-Hulud you fear so much," he said slowly, "is not a weapon. It is not a parasite. It is not some secret human technology." He looked straight at the scientists. "It is life. The ability to create life." The aliens blinked, confused. Daniel continued. "On Earth, our bodies carry something unique. Something small, yes, but powerful enough to shape the future of our entire species." The crowd murmured nervously. One of the insect-like counselors clicked his mandibles sharply. "Are you saying it is part of reproduction?" Daniel nodded calmly. "Yes, what you saw, what scared you so much, is simply biology. Human biology." Gasps rippled through the aliens like a wave. "You mean?" One of the scientists stammered. "Every human carries this? Every single one?" Daniel gave a faint smile. "Every single one." The crystal-skinned counselor shook his head in disbelief. "Impossible. No species produces life like this. We need breeding tanks, genetic engineers, years of preparation. And you're telling us humans carry it naturally?" Daniel's eyes held steady. "Yes, and not just carry it. We can create life almost anywhere, on broken worlds, in harsh climates, even on planets your kind abandoned as dead." The marketplace filled with whispers. "No wonder they spread so fast," one alien murmured. "They're like living seed carriers," another gasped. A third whispered in awe. "A single human could populate a whole colony." The guards looked uneasy now. They weren't holding the criminal. They were holding something far more unpredictable. Daniel looked around at the sea of stunned faces. "You fear what you don't understand, but this?" He gestured casually. "This is why humans survive. Why we always come back stronger. Because even in the darkest places, we can start again." His words sank into the crowd like heavy stones into deep water. The counselors exchanged glances. Some looked angry, some looked afraid, others curious. The leader's golden eye glowed brighter. "If what you say is true, then humans carry within them the power to spread life across the stars." Daniel shrugged. "We always have." The insect-like counselor hissed nervously. "Do you not see the danger? A single human could populate a planet without our permission, without our control." Daniel smiled faintly. "Maybe that's what scares you the most." Suddenly, a voice from the crowd shouted, "So the mini Shai-Hulud isn't dangerous?" Daniel turned toward the voice. "Dangerous? No, but powerful?" "Yes, more powerful than you realize." Another alien asked, trembling. "And you carry this all the time, everywhere?" Daniel nodded once. The marketplace exploded with noise. Some aliens argued it was unnatural. Others said it was a gift. A few looked at Daniel with something close to respect. The council leader finally raised one massive tentacle for silence. "Human," he said slowly, "the galaxy will not take this lightly. This changes everything." Daniel stepped closer, his voice steady. "No, this only changes how you see us. Humans have always been this way. You just didn't know." He glanced around at the counselors, the guards, the scientists, the terrified crowd. "And now," he said softly, "you can't unlearn it." The chamber fell into heavy silence. But deep inside, everyone knew the truth. The galaxy would never look at humans the same way again. The marketplace was still shaking from the humans' words. Life, creation, power, those were not the weapons the council expected, not the secrets the scientists wanted, not the danger the aliens had feared. Yet somehow, it felt bigger. The crowd of aliens whispered in 100 different languages. Some looked terrified, others amazed, a few almost jealous. The council leader floated above them all, his single golden eye burning like a small sun. "Human," he said slowly, "this changes everything. If your kind can create life so easily, the balance of the galaxy may fall." Daniel stood calmly in the center of it all, arms crossed, face unreadable. "No," he said softly. "The balance was never yours to control." Those words hit the council harder than any weapon, because they all knew it was true. For centuries, the galaxy had been ruled by order and rules. Colonies were approved by councils. New life was created in breeding centers with permission, taxes, and contracts. Nothing was left to chance. Nothing was left to nature. But humans? Humans carried the chaos of life itself inside their own bodies, and that made them impossible to control. The insect-like counselor slammed his claw on the table. "This is dangerous. If humans spread unchecked, they will outnumber every species. In a century," the crystal-skinned counselor whispered, almost to himself, "or they will save every dying world we abandoned." The scientists stood frozen, scanners still blinking uselessly in their hands. The guards looked uneasy, as if they weren't sure whether to aim their rifles or bow in respect. In above them all, the council leader's golden eye watched the human closely. Daniel finally stepped forward. "You think numbers are your real fear," he said slowly. "But that's not it. What scares you is this." He pointed at the aliens all around them. "You build walls. We build families. You control life. We create it. Even in places you call dead, we plant roots. Even in places you fear, we raise children. That is what frightens you, that humans don't die out easily." His words were simple, calm, but they carried the weight of history itself. Daniel said something that made the whole galaxy hold its breath. He turned to the council and asked softly, "Do you know how many Earth colonies exist outside your maps?" The leader's golden eye narrowed. "How many?" Daniel's faint smile held no humor. "Enough that if every council world vanished tomorrow, humanity would still be here, still growing, still living." Gasps filled the chamber. The counselors realized the truth. Too late. Humans weren't asking for permission to survive. They never had. One of the young guards whispered in fear, "They can't be stopped." Another muttered, "They don't need us at all." Even the scientists, usually arrogant and cold, looked shaken. The council leader spoke again, slower this time. "Human, what do you want from us?" Daniel looked at the sea of alien faces, some angry, some afraid, some silent with respect. Then he said, "Nothing. We don't want your permission. We don't want your protection. We don't want your control. We came to trade, to share, to learn. But understand this." He stepped closer, voice steady but carrying across the chamber like thunder. "Humans will spread, not because of weapons, not because of war, but because life always finds a way." The silence that followed felt heavier than any explosion. Council leader's golden eye dimmed slightly, as if even he didn't know what to say. Because deep down, they all knew it was true. Empires fall, laws break, stars burn out. But life? Life always fights to survive, and humans carried that fight. Inside them, when Daniel turned to leave, no one stopped him. Not the guards, not the scientists, not even the council leader himself. Because the galaxy had just learned something terrifying. Humans were not the strongest because of their ships, not because of their weapons, not even because of their courage. Humans were strong because they could start over, anywhere, even after losing everything. That night, Starhaven Station was quiet. The rumors stopped. The fear faded. The council held secret meetings for weeks, but the truth had already escaped across the stars. Every planet, every empire, every species heard the same story. Humans carried the power of life itself, and the galaxy would never look at them the same way again.